Hey, hurry up, you lazy turds! Get up!
Sir, he's already dead.
You're right, he is. You know what this means, right? Stop wasting time. Every second you rest is another second wasted. Work, slaves! Hey there, and welcome to another video by yours truly, Noobert the Great. This time around, I'll be talking about... Ooh, yes. In Rimworld, there are lots of stuffs you can do with your colony, from planting food to training colonists to conquering the world. It all consumes time, both in real life as well as in games. Since that's the case, I'd like to present you guys some tips that could be helpful to save time. If you've got any of your own, feel free to drop them in the comments down below. I'm sure everybody will appreciate it. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more cool vids like this. Now, let's go. My first tip for saving time and being more efficient in Rimworld is to synchronize your colonists' sleep schedules. This can be accomplished by getting them all awake, sleep, work, and engage in leisure at the same time. For example, if you go with the default sleep timers, they'll have 2 free hours after waking and 2 hours of recreation time before sleep, with the rest filled in with work. It makes giving orders and managing colonists so much easier when they're all on a fixed schedule. Syncing recreation time is also useful as it provides socializing opportunities. Rearing livestock is necessary in Rimworld for everything from leather to milk, but animals can sometimes be a pain to wrangle or protect. That's where tip number 2 comes in: livestock quantity over quality. What do I mean? Well, think of it this way. If a herd of your sheep comes under threat, maybe you'll lose a few, no biggie. You've got a lot more. If you pet a thrumbo dies, it's a huge time investment and setback, and it'll be hard to replace. Now, with all that said, with the 1.3 update and the pens, you can use pens, but if you're not a fan of pens, this all still applies. Oh dear. Speaking of animals, another time-saving tip is to use them when hauling objects. I'm not sure if you can call this genius per se, but it's useful regardless. Assuming you have spare pack animals, just give them commands to pick up certain objects and they'll do so, carrying the objects to a location of your choice. You can carry lots of stuff, from crates to dead bodies. It's really handy and saves time by allowing your colonists to focus on their task. Number 4 on my tip list involves food efficiency. In the early game, it can often be a good idea to use nutrient paste when feeding your colonists. It's not that you can't cook food, rather nutrient paste provides a lot of nutrition and can be prepared easily. There's also no food poisoning risk and therefore no downtime with them getting sick, unlike regular food, especially since most colonists won't be skilled chefs early on. The downside is of course a mood debuff. Since nutrient paste tastes horrible, you can offset it via recreation though. Next, let's talk about VANOMETRIC power cells. These giant batteries are rare quest rewards and provide a constant flow of 1000 watts of energy without needing any input whatsoever. VANOMETRIC cells are also portable, so you can move them around. If you get your hands on one, try to utilize it. The power output isn't super high, but it can be useful for maintaining power to vital infrastructure in case of blackouts. It's also useful for raiding outposts because you have power for turrets that you want to bring along, so keep that in mind. All edible items have an expiry timer, after which they'll rot and go to waste, along with all the time you spend harvesting them. Generally, refrigeration slows this timer down, but you can also cook raw food to reset the timer. Just cook your food. It'll save you time in the long run since you'll have less trouble reharvesting stuff and feeding your colonists. One cool system that Rimworld has is the Inspired Creativity buff, which provides an effective pawn the chance to create a legendary artwork. You can then sell that piece of art for loads of money. The problem is, this buff only lasts 8 days. It usually turns into a mad scramble to finish a new piece, which wastes time that could otherwise be spent on other tasks. The trick is to keep a few unfinished art pieces in storage. Since the buff applies on completion of an artwork, this tip allows you to manipulate your chances of acquiring legendary art. Ever eaten dinner in front of your TV? Well, you can and should make your colonists do the same, or something similar at least. It's as easy as sticking a horseshoe pin in the middle of your dining room. By combining your recreation and dining rooms, colonists can gain all the associated buffs in one room. It saves resources, time, and space. Really handy tip. Hey, sorry, I was having a bit too much fun. Now that you're here, could I just trouble with a quick reminder? Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. If you've enjoyed the video so far, that is. I'd really appreciate it, and you can get notified immediately when new content comes out. Cool, right? Do it now. Done? Let's get back to the video. If you need to feed your animals but are lacking in pawns with the grower skill, what do? Harvest the hay grass anyway? At a reduced yield? Here's a suggestion. Plant daisies instead. With a nutritional value of 0.18 and 2.5 days growth speed, they're useful to plant in grazing fields instead of getting your colonists involved. Let the animals harvest these daisies directly while you can do the same with hay grass. It has lower nutritional value if eaten directly. Speaking of animals, one of the animals you'll want to try to tame ASAP for that and other purposes is the boar. Why boars? Well, they're a very strong animal and can put up a fight against predators like timberwolf. They're also fast, resourceful, low on upkeep, and can eat both meat and well as plants. Unfortunately, these piggies can't haul stuff, but they're definitely worth keeping around regardless. For example, if your colonists are in a caravan and low on food, the boar can subsist on nearby grass instead or having to eat meat. You'll definitely save a lot of time with boars instead of having to micromanage another animal's diet. There are various factors that can affect a colony's productivity. One simple way to boost it and speed up production or research time is to add proper light sources nearby your workstations. If an area is too dark for colonists to work, well, just stick torches or lamps near the station. They'll do wonders. In relation to the tips about sleep schedules and combining dining rooms with rec rooms, it's a good idea to build pawn relations. It's pretty easy, just have them share rec time in the same location.
Dear, how long more do you think we'll have to work? It's been going on for weeks now.
I don't know. Noobert is a cruel master. You know that.
It's okay. I've got you for support.
About that. I want a divorce, actually.
It's worth sacrificing some work time to build pawn relationships. Think of it like accumulating interest in a bank, except all the interest goes to you, of course. Nothing for your pawn. Around the mid-game, you should hopefully have the capacity to start producing penicillin. Do it. Do it. It's a very useful medicine that only costs 2 Nutrimine for 1 penicillin unit, which can ward off nasty diseases like malaria, sleeping sickness, and plague. As they always say, prevention is better than cure. No sense wasting time treating sick colonists and having them unable to work, right? Sometimes your colony falls on hard times. You get desperate for food and your colonists start looking pretty delicious. Don't worry. You don't need to resort to cannibalism yet. It's possible to recover food from the wild. Predator kills, just note how much HP they have on the wildlife tab, and if it's low enough, swoop in to finish the predator off and claim their prey as your own. It saves time having to hunt on your own. Did you know drop pods can be used as storage? Well, now you do. They only take up 3 tiles, but can store loads of items. No need to build dozens of chests or shelves if you have a drop pod. Just chuck everything in there. If you need to grow plants around the clock instead of waiting for daytime and have electricity to spare, consider using sun lamps or greenhouses. They're useful to boost your supply of produce. Greenhouses also provide an additional safeguard against toxic fallout, sheltering your crops from affected areas. Wow, the weather's terrible out there. Anyway, since we're resting, why not drop a comment below? You can give me feedback or questions, or even just stop by to chat. I won't bite, I promise. Now, back to the video. No laziness is allowed in my colony. It's punishable by starvation or death. Just kidding. Or am I? Anyway, if you have idle colonists, don't let them waste time standing around. Put those lazy turds to work. Keep a few spare low-level research benches in your base so idle colonists can craft stuff or train on them. If you do a lot of trading, you're probably annoyed by the amount of hauling required to move goods back and forth. Here's a tip. Create a small, low-priority stockpile in the stockpile room and throw a trade beacon on it. Once the roof is removed, orbital traders can now drop goods directly on the stockpile. Is your colonist sad over a death? Are they grieving and having trouble working? Grief is inefficient and a waste of time. The capitalist machine must run eternally, so stick that colonist in CRYOSLEEP and have them slowly recover from grief instead of hampering the base operations. Wrangling animals can be pretty troublesome sometimes. If you don't assign them proper commands, they'll wander all over the place and block movement or track dirt over your floors. Ugh. If that happens, try to assign zones to your animals. This ensures they stick to fixed areas and won't get in the way of your colonists. Speaking of getting in the way, building wide corridors and main hallways is also a pretty handy time-saving tip. Wider corridors have more room for items like lamps and heaters, so you don't have to spend a lot of time fiddling with their positioning. Hallways also tend to be your final line of defense when raiders invade via sappers or drop pods, or when an infestation spawns in the middle of your base. If the corridors are wide, your colonists have more room to hose down enemies with gunfire. In addition, there's also more room to build makeshift fortifications or traps to create a mini kill box of sort. Alternatively, you don't have to build wide hallways to place lamps and heaters. There are ways to literally cut corners. It's possible to cut the corners off a room, like so, allowing you to build lamps and heaters into the wall. Tired of plants growing real slow? Want to speed things up? Then look for rich soil. Soil. Poor soil. Rich soil. What's going on? You can hover your mouse over large spots of dark soil, which will automatically show you where the rich soil is. Rich soil can make your plants grow up to 50% faster, depending on the plant species and soil preference. It's pretty useful to speed up plant growth, especially in the winter when plants either don't grow or grow very slow. It can be a pain in the ass to get colonists to eat meals in a dedicated room. They often waste time walking to a distant location or eat in unsuitable places, so here's a tip for that. To discourage this, I recommend placing the food source, for example the freezer room, as close as possible to the next available table. Ideally, this table would be in the recreation hall. You can even go one step further and build a tiny dedicated freezer next to the dining room just to store cooked meals. It cuts down on travel time by a lot. In general, newbie players tend to build wood walls when first starting out. It isn't necessarily a bad thing, but can be a waste of time. Why is that? Well, wood is a cheap material to use, but comes with a fair bit of risk. Thunderstorms can easily burn your entire base down if you're unlucky. Stone walls are better, really. They may take longer to build and tear down, but in the long run, you'll save a lot of time. And that is it for my list of 25 genius time-saving tips. I hope they've been helpful for you guys. Try some of them out and let me know how things go in the comments below. Okay, enjoy. Again, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more cool content like it. Have fun, and I'll see you guys next time.